Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of SoTellUs Time. So happy to be with you guys today. It's another beautiful Tuesday, and we are just loving life over here at SoTellUs Time. Today we're going to be talking about don't be defensive. Don't be defensive. Turn the other cheek. Be the bigger man, right?
Absolutely.
Or be the better woman.
Hey, that's almost always true.
Yes, that is always true. Today, we're talking about how to deal with negative feedback. That is one thing that clients struggle with all the time. Obviously, we own a review system, only video review system on the planet. We are awesome. We love it, and our clients love it. The thing about it is, when they do get negative feedback from a customer, they want to overreact.
Yeah.
They want to freak out. They want to, well, you did this and you didn't pay the bill and and they just want to go at the customer.
Why does our customer sound like an old miner?
Because they're a cranky old man. He's the man with the pick. He's going to go and he's going to put a pick in their head.
Wow.
He gets very violent, okay? Don't make me mad. Don't give me no negative feedback about my gold mine. He's a cranky old man.
There you go.
No offense to old people, as long as you're not cranky. If you're cranky, then take offense. All right, guys. So how to deal with negative feedback. Troy, let's jump right in because people struggle with this.
Yeah, we're going to give you a couple of techniques to deal with negative feedback. Number one is don't react immediately. That's one of the biggest problems is, so you get negative feedback about you, about an employee, about your business, and you immediately react and you're like super upset.
Take a breath.
I've seen this happen with clients and they're like, I got a negative Google review. And then they're just like, like you said, they're just slamming it out there like, you're this, that, the other, and your mother, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whoa, right? Don't react immediately.
Yes.
One of the worst things you can do is do that. So take time to settle down and let your emotions go. A lot of times I tell people, take 24 hours.
Yeah.
If you can take 24 hours before you respond, then that's the best thing you can do. To let the emotion go away. And then there's some other things we're going to talk about that you should be doing in that 24-hour period.
Absolutely.
But definitely do not respond right away until you do these other things. The next thing is do your research. And this seems like common sense. Like, someone just complained about my business. I should do some research and figure out, what's going on. But a lot of people don't.
No.
They don't look into it at all. They fire off an email or a voicemail and they're like, blah, 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 this and that, and we never did that, and da-da-da-da.
That's right.
And then the client comes back and says, well, here's the email from your employee.
Yeah, you know what it's like? I always think of it, I tell people it's like this. It's like you got the red button, right? You've got the red button. If you push that red button, that nuke's going to just fly. But the problem is, a lot of the time, if you don't do your research, you hit that button, you send that email, boom, the nuke is flying. And then all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, what's coming back down on me? Boom, the nuke. It's faulty, and it goes and it putters and it comes back down and it blows you up because guess what? You didn't do your research. And like Troy said, the email from the employee or the recording or whatever that is, the promise that was made or why ever they're mad, it comes back and blows up in your own face.
Exactly. So make sure that you don't respond unless you have all of the facts. So how can you do that? Research the situation. I suggest looking at the account history. Don't just look at what happened in this one moment. Look at the account history and see what's been going on with this client. Look at your employee communication.
Yes, you should be tracking your employee communication, by the way. Every single one of our employees is recorded. Their phone calls are recorded. Their emails are recorded and pulled into our CRM system so we can go back and look at them at any time.
Exactly. So make sure that you know what communication happened between your employee and the client. And then after you've looked at the employee communication, you want to talk to your employees, the employees involved in this event, and get their perspective. And now I want to give you a little bit of advice when you come in there. Don't come into your employee and be like, oh, this horrible customer of ours, they sent me an email and they said this and blah, 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 right? Don't do that.
Stage. You're setting the stage.
Exactly. You're setting the stage. So if you come in and start talking bad about this, customer, then the employee is going to feel justified in what they did, right? Yep. So you want to come in and get the facts. like an impartial judge, if you will. And then you need to actually determine if you were actually in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably the hardest part because so many people are blinded by their own pride, by the desire to be right, that they will just ignore, any mistakes that they made or that their employees made.
I have never done anything wrong, Troy. I've lived a perfect life. I mean, if somebody has a problem with me, they're just an idiot.
They're wrong. Right? So accept the facts and don't dismiss the facts because you don't like them.
And also, one thing I want to add, just backing up to the employee, when you approach your employee, you talked about not talking bad about the customer. Also approach your employee in a nice, calm, and positive manner as well. Because the last thing you want to do is be blowing your employees up that you like. I mean, as long as you like them. If you're trying to get rid of them, I guess blow them up all you want. But if you like them and you want to keep them, approach them with the attitude of that there's two sides to every story, and this isn't their fault. Unless they have to admit it's their fault. Right?
Exactly. Right.
But approach them in a positive way.
Yeah, because you don't want them to automatically be defensive, right? And then you can't get the information that you need out of them. So, again, accept the facts. Don't dismiss the facts just because you don't like what they are.
Yes.
And then this is another big one. Don't negate, any wrongdoing on your company's part because of the action of a client. And I see this all the time. They're like, well, yeah, I mean, we did screw that up, but the client was a jerk. Okay. You need to separate those two things. The client can be a jerk, right? That's different. That has nothing to do with the fact that you didn't do the job right.
All right. At the end of the day, the client is paying for a service. If you didn't get that, whether he is a jerk or not, if you didn't give that to him, it doesn't matter.
Right. So separate that out. Never dismiss your wrongdoing because the client was a jerk or whatever it might be. And then come up with a solution, if you're wrong. So come up with a solution. And let's talk about the solution. There's a couple of things that your solution needs to include. You need to have an appropriate response, and you need to apologize if that's appropriate. So if your company made a mistake, you need to apologize to the customer. You need to own the fact that you made a mistake and that you're sorry that that happened, right? So that needs to be a part of this appropriate response. Now, it may be that you didn't do anything wrong, right? And you don't really owe an apology, but you can always apologize for any miscommunication or apologize that they feel like something was done incorrectly.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can make them feel like you understand them and that you're sorry that they are upset.
And let me jump in right here. It's always best practice to try to understand what the client's feeling, your client is feeling. So when my clients call me up, and I just had one the other day. He got a scathing Google review. It was just really ripping into him, very detailed. And it's one of those reviews that I'm going, people are going to look at this and they're going to believe it and they're going to listen. He wrote this really nasty reply that he was going to put on Google. And I'm like, no. Luckily, he contacted me. I discussed with him how he should respond to this prior to him sending or replying with that. And he was like, well, that's way different than what I wrote. He goes, in fact, I'm going to send it over to you. I'm going to do what you told me to do, but I'm going to send it over to you. And I want you to read it just for laughs, because I think you're going to laugh at the way that I wanted to respond versus the way you're telling me to respond. The very first thing that I told him, though, when he called me was, is there any way for you to rectify this situation? Can you make it better? Can you make the client happy? And he was like, well, I'm going to try to do that and everything. I said, that's the first thing. You're not going to respond at all to this.
Right.
You're going to contact the customer. You're going to see if you can make it better. And if you can, possibly they'll remove the review or they'll change it. And make sure you ask them after you have made it better. So he did contact them. He did make it better. He went and finished what they felt he should finish and everything like that. And then, guess what? He asked them to remove the review. And they didn't. They said, no, we still think that the world needs to know about this and everything like that. And he just said, okay. And I told him, be very positive with them. Don't be negative. Don't be mean. Just tell them you're so sorry about that and the miscommunication, the misunderstanding that was happening, but fix it and then move on. And then we can reply to it after we've given it 24 to 48 hours for everyone to calm down. So he did that. He left there. He writes up the new response, sends me his response, and I'm going, oh my gosh, it's like 5 paragraphs long. He was just ripping. And he had good points. He was justified in what the contract said is what he fulfilled. They wanted something outside the contract, and that was going to cost more money. They didn't like that. But anyways, he was able to make it better. He wrote up the review, and I said to him, now go and the response, and I said, now go and post that. Well, when he went and clicked on the link to go over to that review, it was gone. It was gone. Even though the person said, no, I'm not going to get rid of it. The world deserves to see this, and I appreciate you making it right, but the world still needs to deserve it. Waiting that 48 hours, let that other person, let the client calm down. They probably saw that, man, he really did do what he said he was going to do, and he did make it better, and I should remove that review. And on their own, without telling him, they went and removed that review. So he didn't even have to put the reply on there. Yeah. So even think about that, because he could have at that moment when they were like, no, we're not going to remove that. He could have been like, well, blah, 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 and just ripped into him. And then they never would have removed the review. But he took the time, he left, and it was amazing. So that's a perfect example for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. We had another similar situation with a client who got a negative review on Google, and it was for another company. It wasn't even his company. And same thing. He was going to blow him up, like, I never cleaned your carpets, blah, 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 blah. And we talked him down, said, no, don't do that. See if you can contact the person, explain in the reply that, that they have the wrong company, and that they would love to get on the phone with you and talk to him. And anyways, it was so funny because when it was all said and done, he followed our advice, and it was all said and done, the person didn't delete the review, but they changed the review, and they actually said, I had this other company come and clean my carpets, and they did a horrible job, and I accidentally wrote a review on the wrong company, but they were so nice and so, understanding with me that I am only going to use them for my carpet cleaning going
now
forward.
On.
And so it was this negative review that turned into a positive one.
That's awesome.
Leaving, having that time to let people cool down is really, really important. Again, with your solution, you also want to fix the problem, right? Mm-hmm. Let the customer know what you're going to do to fix it. Explain exactly what you're going to do to fix the problem, and then let them know if you have a recurring business with them, how you're going to prevent it from ever happening again. Yeah. So it's not just how am I going to fix this now, it's how am I going to stop this, make sure this never happens to you again, so that you always have a great experience with us. They want to know that. It makes them feel comfortable and confident in your work. And then putting rules in place to prevent that situation from happening. So, I've seen people do this. They're like, yeah, we're going to make sure that never happens. And then nothing changes. Mm-hmm. And then eventually it happens again because there's no rule or, in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. So make sure you put something in place to fix it. All right.
Awesome.
Anything else, Trevor, before we get to the homework?
No, I love it. That's a really good one. So if you guys listen to this, it will change your business. Dealing with negative people and upset people is something that a business owner needs to learn how to do right. So I like what you said, Troy. Your homework this week, guys, is to put rules in place that can help you handle and deal with negative clients, negative reviews, and then give some training to your team. Make sure your team knows how to respond or not respond. Sometimes letting it cool down is the best course of action. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We are loving doing this with you guys. YouTube is blowing up. If you like it, go to YouTube, check us out, search for SoTellUs. You'll find SoTellUs or SoTellUs Time, and you're going to be able to find us on YouTube. Check out the videos. Sometimes it's fun to watch us. If you haven't been, my beard is getting glorious. It's getting gloriously long. I'm going to keep it going. even though my wife is like, stop, shave it, at least trim it. What are you, a caveman? I'm like, I am a caveman, a manly man. All right, everybody, we will catch you guys on the next SoTellUs Time.